Hello, beautiful people out there. It's such an amazing time, to come your way. After a short break. The inside view, we are back with amazing stories, and trust me, you'll be blown away. Um, before I go on, I just want you to share this video, invite as many friends as you can, and let us all be a partaker of this amazing, I would say, important discussion that is so affecting most of us in our community. I would say it's affecting us because it's something that we don't openly, talk about. But there's a need for this discussion because we have a lot of couples, who've been silenced, who are, just suffering in silence. And I think it's not right, whichever route that you take to have a family, your wishes, are to be respected. So tonight, um, after inviting people, I would also urge you to take a few seconds to subscribe to the Inside View on my YouTube channel and also to follow my page on Facebook, The Inside View with Nana. And also share, continue to share, and let's have more people, tonight on this platform. The Inside View, we are back, more powerful than ever. So I'm so happy because the weather is so amazing as well. The weather, today's temperature, trust me, 23 degrees in Bradford. So it's so warm, and I don't know where you're watching me from, but I'm having a proper spring, and I'm so happy. Tonight we're going to talk about adoption. We have a lot of children in our communities that are longing to be loved, actually longing to be accepted, and also longing to have a stable family to grow up in. But many a times, is either we don't know much about the processes and also the challenges that comes with it, so we shy away from it. But there has, come a time that I think we should give our children a chance and also a home, to be loved from. So tonight I have a lady who has done an amazing job in, she's done fostering, she's done everything. And I don't want to introduce her because I don't want to miss, in case maybe I miss some of the information, I don't want to actually do that. So I'll just bring on Miss Yara Awo Gunu, who would actually educate us on adoption and fostering, the challenges that comes with it, the disadvantages, and also the joy that comes with it, and also to educate us, through the processes and everything that comes with adoption and fostering. So if you're online, please bring in your family, and let's all be empowered on this, topic. And also I have, tonight on this platform, an amazing young lady who was adopted, and she thinks she's been blessed by her adoptive parents, and she cannot keep silent. She just wants to say thank you to her adoptive parents for adopting her and also giving her the life that she's actually enjoying now. And she's all the way from America, and she is in person of Mrs. Lucinda Atchman. She's in, she's I don't I don't know. I don't want to introduce anybody today. I just want them to do their own introduction. Yeah. So, welcome, ladies. Welcome to the Inside View. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nana. Thank you for having us.
Okay. Amazing. You know, Miss Gunu, just introduce yourself to our, viewers. Who is Yara Awo Gunu? Who are you, please? Just tell us a bit about yourself.
So, as you've heard, I'm Yara Awo Gunu. I'm 48 years old.
Oh wow, you look amazing.
Thank
You know,
you.
okay.
I have two biological daughters, 31 and 25 years old.
Ooh.
Um, I'm uh, I've been living in UK for I think the past 20 or so years now. I've worked within the social care sector, especially working with children. So I started my working with children career from a residential children's home, and then through the living care team, and now a foster carer.
Oh,
And I have one adopted son who is 6 years old, the
wow.
most adorable person in the household.
Wow. Wow. Well done. Well done for taking, this journey. Well done. Well done. Well done. And, can I have Lucinda Ajman? Also, Lucy, just tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi, Nana. Once again, thanks for having me. My name is Lucinda Ajiman. I was born and raised in Sierra Leone. Um, right now live in Hawaii, in the United States Army. I'm a nurse, a nursing officer, and uh, yeah, that's me. And yes, it's true. I was adopted by um my dad's sister, who's my aunt, is the one who actually raised me. She's the one I know as my mother.
Wow. Wow. I mean, thank you so much, for this amazing introduction. Sister Yara, I've just got to myself. I just want to know, how did you know that you wanted to be, like an adoptive parent, especially where you have your own children? I mean, one would have thought, I've got my own biological children, so why should I foster or even adopt someone's child? What motivated you to do that, please?
Um, I had my daughter quite young. I mean, you've heard my age and how old she is.
Yeah.
Very young, and my parents did the parenting. So my parents parented both of us.
Hmm.
And I married quite young as well, very young, at the age of 22. I had the second child,
Hmm.
whom I had to leave for, whatever reason. We relocated to the UK. So I left her quite young as well with my parents who did the parenting. Um, but I didn't really want to have another baby, but I wanted to do all the parenting from having a newborn child. And so I've always kind of said throwaway comments like, oh, I don't want to be pregnant, but I will raise a child if someone gave me one. Well, they say be careful what you wish for, because I got my wish, just like that. And the child that we adopted came to us as a foster baby. And the very first time that they brought him, my daughter came downstairs, my youngest daughter, she came downstairs and she said, we are not letting him go anywhere ever. And
Wow.
I just thought to myself, oh, I must have thought something and threw it away by myself. But then when we heard that the plan for him was adoption, I said, this is our chance to raise a baby. She wanted a younger sibling, which I was very adamant. I don't want to go through the stress of pregnancy and everything. So, and then we were attached to him as well.
Hmm.
And we happened to know the family. So we decided that this is the baby that we want. And so that's how come, I mean, I suppose for many, it won't be, uh, they might not meet the child before they decide
Yeah.
that they want to adopt. But we were lucky and we had that. So I suppose it was a tough decision, but an easy one at the same time, if you know what I mean,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's a lifelong commitment.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, how did you prepare, your children? Because sometimes, even though our children tend to be a bit older, sometimes it's not too easy for them to accept someone they don't know. They are not too related to either by blood or, like any other form of relation. So, how did you prepare your girls to kind of have, that bond with that little boy?
Um, See, I saw my mom fostered a lot of children, young people, that we grew up with unofficially back in Ghana. So I'd seen how you can raise somebody else's child. And so for the girls, my daughters, it was a matter of educating them that we, as a foster home, can also be a good home for a child. So I suppose I managed to instill that belief in them
Hmm.
that I have the two of you, I have parented you, but I've still got capacity. I've still got it in me. We still have it in us, to raise another child. And they know that a child coming into our home is coming to have access to all the things that they have access to. And they know that they're not going to lose any part of me to that child. And again, I'm grateful and I'm thankful to them that they trusted in me, and believed me while I was trying to educate them. And, they trusted me really.
Wow.
And
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
uh,
Sometimes we want to go into, either fostering or adoption. What is the difference between fostering and adoption? Because sometimes I think we get a bit mixed up. What is the difference between the two?
So the main difference between fostering and adoption is, there is financial reward for fostering. So
Hmm.
when you're fostering, it's almost seen like a job. So you're doing a job as a foster carer. You're being paid to look after these children. And then the children have somebody who is parentally responsible for them. So these children have what we call co-parents. So they have plans that are reviewed regularly. They have meetings to make sure that their care needs are being met, their well-being. Somebody's overseeing that. They have independent reviewing officer that we meet, the foster carer, independent reviewing officer, social worker, and other agencies involved in that child will meet periodically to discuss the child's care package and make sure that everything that is put in place is working for the child. And then they pay the carer. So it could be through a local authority's own fostering department or team, or private fostering agency. And there's money involved. So there's money that, get paid to the foster carers. Whereas with adoption, after you've adopted the child, that child becomes your sole responsibility. You have autonomy to make sure that you provide the child's welfare, everything that that child needs, that you will give to your biological child, that child becomes your sole responsibility. Some local authorities will give adoption allowances, but it's all written into the assessment and the adoption order. So in my case, I had, and it's very nominal. It's not anything that can help, it's nominal to kind of give you a bit of a financial push, because the child came as a foster child. I was being paid quite something, but after the adoption, all of that stops. So they give you something to just cushion you financially. And then depending on what your financial needs are, it could be from any time period. It could be from 1 year, 2 years, or wherever, but it's all written into the assessment plan for that child. But you don't get financial reward for the rest of the child's life, so to
Wow.
say. So that's the main difference between fostering and adoption. Whereas with adoption as well, you become the parent of that child and you have parental responsibility.
Wow. So, if I'm getting everything, right, how come in our community, um, adoption or fostering is so shrouded in secrecy? We don't even want to know that we've adopted someone's child. What can be done, to be so open and also relaxed about this process? Because I've got a lot of, white friends that are so, open about it. Oh, this is my adopted child. This is my adopted, son or daughter. But for us, it's even when we deal with, we don't even want the family to know. We don't even want people to know that this child is not my biological child. Why is it so?
It's funny you say that because sometimes, as a black family, I kind of feel guilty for openly, publicly announcing that, oh, I've adopted a child and this is my adopted son. And I talked to the kid about the fact that he was adopted and all of that. But I suppose if you go back to history,
Mm-hmm,
and especially within our community, you only have to watch a Nollywood film to see how women are shamed
mm-hmm,
and disgraced and, kind of alienated from within their marital homes about the fact that they're barren. So it's a societal view on how people should produce fruits of their own loins, so to speak.
yeah.
So it makes everybody want to say, this is my own child. I am capable of carrying a child. Because when you look at these things, there's a lot of insults that are rained on these women.
Mm,
So they don't want people to forever label them as, oh, she's barren. She can't carry a child. Oh, she's not productive and all of that. So I think it's a negativity that people kind of rain on, especially women, because sometimes they don't even know if it's the woman's fault
mm-hmm,
or the man's, but everyone just looks at the woman and decide that it's your fault that the family is not producing a child.
mm-hmm,
So I suppose it is this societal view on how children should be brought up and how children should live within a family that makes everybody want to treat adoption like it's a kind of taboo. You don't say it because if you say it, then I don't know what happens when they think if you say somebody is adopted. So I suppose it is a social um, view of bearing a child that creates all these secrecies and all these you know
okay. I mean,
situations.
having adopted a son, with two beautiful girls already. Um, what kind of advice? I know this is a bit too early, for you to give advice, but then what kind of advice, can you give to our people, both the African community and also the Asian community, because these are the communities that we face such challenges. So, what kind of I would say message do you have for us, to be able to just liberate ourselves from this um, I don't know, this difficult situation, because we have a lot of children that are wanting homes to grow up in, but there's this kind of I would say, just like you said, this kind of, either maybe the woman or the man will be blamed for bringing in someone's child into the home, or maybe otherwise. So, what kind of advice or maybe education can you give to us to be open up and to be able to be like open to this adoption or fostering?
I think the best thing for us as a human race is to step away from all this social construction about how things are supposed to be. We know how things are supposed to be historically,
Mm-hmm,
but we're all made differently. Biologically, not all of us can do everything that everybody does. So if we step away from the social construction of how things are ought to be, then we can understand that if you're trying for something and that thing is not happening, look for alternatives. looks for other way, because like you rightly said, there are so many children looking for good homes, and there are millions of good homes out there that could embrace children and give them the best chances of life, but they're looking at the social construction of how it should be,
Hmm.
so they stop themselves from doing it. So if we can step away from that and look at the bigger picture and step outside the boxes that we've created about how things ought to be, I think we can. Because when we were going to do the adoption, we spoke to friends and we told them the rationale behind why we're doing it. I had friends who told me that, oh, you're very brave. Your children are grown. You can do whatever you want. You can have your independence. So why do it again? And I said, well, it needed to be done. So somebody has to do it. So we stepped in
Wow.
and we are doing it. So if we can step away from the social construction, we will go far in
Wow.
our community. And I think we need the education
I
a
think so.
lot.
I think so. I
Yeah,
think
we do need the education.
at this point in time, I think I'll bring Lucy, on board, for her to share her joy and also the shock that she actually felt, because I have a feeling maybe she wasn't told. I don't know. Maybe I'll just wait for her to share her story, and how she's managed to overcome all the I'll say anxiety, the shock, and everything that came with it. Lucy, if you can share with us when you found out that you were adopted, how was it like? How did you feel?
Uh, it's a strange experience. I was a bit older. Like I said, I was born in Sierra Leone. I spent about 7 years there before my mom sent us to Ghana to live with our dad for another 7 years. So I moved to the US when I was 14. I started high school here. And I think I have to say, I was close to starting college. So almost like past 18, that my birth mother reached out to me, um, to let me know that, she's my real mother and the person I'm living with is not my mother. And there was just so much like hostility going on. So it was my mom and my uncle who sat me down and says, yes, it's true, that I was adopted. I have three other siblings, one older sister, one older brother, and a younger sister. They're all in Sierra Leone. I'm in contact with them as we speak. Um, and that the circumstances surrounding my adoption, which was kind of hush hush, was the fact that it was my grandparents who were raising us. So when my mother gives birth, for some reason, I don't know what's going on, she will leave their children with her mom and dad. So they became overwhelmed with the two that she already had, and I was number three. So they decided that my aunt, who's my dad's sister, should take me and raise me. And I quite remember some of my childhood in Sierra Leone, where I would go and visit my grandfather and spend time with my other siblings, but I didn't really know them my siblings. I thought they were
Wow.
my cousins. Yeah. So I think one time in Ghana, they wrote me a letter with their pictures saying that this is my real family, and that I'm adopted and I shouldn't forget them, try and reach in contact with them and all that. But it's just that how depending on how old I was, and the fact that I was so attached with my mom, the one who raised me, it was really hard for me to kind of detach and say, okay, this is my real mom. I want a connection with her. I want to get to know her. And it was really hard for me to do that. Plus, whenever I would talk to her, the conversation that we have was not so pleasant that it kind of like already it, it, it pushed me away basically. But when I think about it, the woman who raised me also has her own daughter who is also my sister. The way that she raised me and her daughter nobody in this world would guess that, I wasn't like she wasn't my birth mom. She
Wow.
raised me with such unconditional love and care. And she's the reason why I'm even in the US in the first place. My other siblings are still in Sierra Leone. And I'm not saying they don't have a good life, they do. But I could easily be there as well and not have the life that I have right now. So I'm like, I feel eternally grateful for her for taking me in, whatever the circumstance is. To me, she is my mother because she raised me from a baby till now, you know, and I never felt unloved or unwanted or anything like that.
Wow.
Anything that I needed, she provided for me. She supported me through my career, my military career. She was always there for all of my military graduations and promotions. She was very, very proud of both me and my little sister. So it was a blessing, really, in disguise. I felt like it could have been any one of my other siblings that she raised, but by God's grace, it's me. I was the one given to her, and I felt like she gave me a second chance
Oh,
to be where I am today, and I'm really, really grateful for her.
wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, and it's like what she was saying, because the whole society issues. Because even before she had me, she had like multiple miscarriages. She was having her time having her own baby, and she told me that I was a huge blessing to her because once she took me in, she was able to have her own child, and she believed that it's because of me. So it's part of the reason why we have that bond and that connection. Yeah.
Wow. Ah, I don't know. I just feel so emotional. So, what do you want to say to your mom and dad? I mean, your adoptive parents. What do you want to say to them?
Oh, if I could bless them, in a way that I really want to bless them, I would. Unfortunately, both of them have passed, but I know they are up, watching over me and still, guiding me. But they know my heart and they know that I love them dearly, and I really am grateful to them, for raising me and for loving me and for making me feel wanted. And I will forever love them and keep them in my heart.
Thank you. Do you know what? In case you come across any African parent, any Asian parent, or even any white parent that's thinking along those lines, what kind of advice would you give to them?
Oh, I mean, it's sometimes, we get caught up, like she said, in the society taboo and all that, and everybody's afraid. But if you think about the child that you adopt and you think about what it means to them and what type of future you can give them, giving them a second chance and having a family, I think that's what should be more important. The person, the love that you're going to give, the love that they're going to receive, and how they're going to turn up. That's the blessing in disguise, really. So I feel like we shouldn't really worry much about the financial aspect or what society thinks and all that. It's your family, it's your child. It should matter. What matters to you is what's important, not what everybody else thinks. So I would definitely recommend. I mean, if you have the opportunity to adopt, do so, because you never know, right?
Wow.
You never know how that child is going to turn out to be.
Wow. I'm so blown away by your openness and also by your bravery to share your story, because we still have people who do not want people to know that they were adopted or they adopted, for fear of being bashed by maybe the adoptive parents or even by society in general. So I would just commend you for coming out to share your story, and I know it's going to encourage a lot of parents out there who might be wanting to adopt or maybe even foster a child. Yeah. Thank you so much. Back to the start, Yaira. Um, what qualities make a good adoptive parent?
Oh, you know, adopting a child and raising that child is the same as having your own biological child and raising them. So there is no one quality for a biological parent
Mm-hmm.
and another quality for an adopted parent. Every quality that a natural parent have, adopted parents should have as well. Patience, tolerance, nurturing, having the ability to be attuned with that child. you know it works for every child, so be it adopted or not,
Mm-hmm.
they are all children first and foremost. And any parenting skill that exists in this world that works or doesn't work
Mm-hmm.
relates to an adopted child. So you don't really need to have any quality, but your willingness to be tolerant and be flexible
Mm-hmm.
in terms of raising. I mean, you're a parent yourself.
Yeah.
How you raise your children is the same. The only difference I would say is that depending on the circumstances surrounding the adoption, there might be slight different in terms of the awareness of the father. If you adopt a child that is a teenager, they already know that you didn't birth them. So you might want to be aware of certain things when you're trying to instill whatever you want to instill. But in terms of raising an adopted child, is the same quality, be biological or adopted. That's my personal opinion.
No, I think we need more education in terms of when you adopt a child, especially if it's a baby or maybe a toddler. Is there any way that maybe you can change their names? And also, I think the problem that we have in our community, I'm just speculating, I'm not too sure, is the open adoption where when kids turn 18, they can have that kind of right to look for their birth parents. I think that is what is actually disturbing our community because we feel that after spending so much money on someone's, child, sort of, why should they go back to their, birth parents? It doesn't make sense. Why should I invest in someone's child? I think that's where the problem is. Is there any way that we can be educated? I'll say on that topic or like in that area. Can you please throw more light on that? For us to be
Um,
informed. Yeah.
I think you mentioned about changing name. There isn't a right or wrong situation where you can change the child's name, but practically the last names, because you become the parents of that child. So when the child is going to school and everything, you become the responsible person.
Yeah.
Um, but when it comes to the first names, we chose to keep his birth name
Okay.
simply because um, if you want to put it in context, he's losing birth families.
Yeah.
We don't want him to lose his birth identity. So we kept the name. Plus, it was a beautiful name. I could not change that name. So we kept the name and changed the last name. But it's always a personal preference. You can change, but and then when it comes back to the open or close, I think mostly in the UK it's usually somewhat how closed, where nothing is said or done with the biological natural parents, where they might just allow letterbox contact,
Mm-hmm.
which is where the parents write letters maybe once or twice a year through the local authority, and then the adoptive parents also respond back.
Okay.
And then in the UK as well, when the child turns 18, there is something called later in life letter that is given to the child, which gives the chronology of how things happened, the occurrences leading to them being adopted, the rationale behind the reason why they were adopted. So that is given to the child. Now, when it comes back to having the child or the baby and thinking that, oh, they're mine, I don't want to raise them and they go back to somebody else, again, is, I would say, is social construction. I don't know about you back home with your parents. We see our parents raise other people's children.
Yeah.
but they're still allowed to have contact with their birth families.
Yeah.
Uh, my parents never take any offense, when they do that, because it's a child's right, and that their parents' right as well. Because I see that having a pregnancy and birthing a child has a spiritual connotation to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So I believe that those should be preserved and they should be honored by all parties. So when we were doing the adoption, in fact, I requested that I want that child to retain some kind of contact with the birth family. And especially, I knew the family and the circumstances surrounding, only because I was trying to think far ahead of what this might do to the child. And with my experience having worked within the social care settings, I have seen how identity issues can mess people up.
Okay.
So I thought to myself, if this child turns 18 and say to me that, go where the sun doesn't shine, I'm looking for my natural family, that's fine. But at the back of his mind, he knows that I'm his mommy. He will know. Because during the process, I spoke to a few people that were adopted, just like our sister. She has met the natural biological family, but she knows who her mommy and daddies were, And I believe strongly that every human being have that subconscious or whatever conscious that would tell them that this is the person who raised me, but this is the person who birthed me, and I want to be close to that person right now. It's okay. Or we can co-share. Don't forget, my children co-shared me.
Do you know what?
So
You are so brave and so honest to, I mean, publicly say this, because I'm
yeah,
thinking, at that time, there's like emotions, like mixed emotions of being jealous. Okay, what if my child, gets too close with their birth parents, or what if maybe from nowhere they just come in and start claiming, it's. I mean, how have you prepared yourself to that time? Because I don't know. I think that's where we have not gotten ourselves, actually prepared, to as a community. So
yeah.
yes, I mean, if you
I
can,
think my problem is it can be sometimes undoing of myself. Is that I open my eyes into too much, and try to dissect situations and look at possible outcomes, probably because of the kind of jobs I do, where you have to preempt situations before they happen. So I have that tendency where I can think that, because when children hit puberty, they get a lot of confusion, a lot of things happening to them, and I just want to try and alleviate that before we get there.
okay. Um,
So
mm,
Karen.
I'm so glad you've mentioned that. Especially, like in our community, when people tend to adopt other children, and the adoptive parents die, that's when the wahala actually starts, because especially when the adoptive parents, let's say, wills everything, to their adopted children. Now you have this extended family coming to say that you're not part of us. So there will be a lot of contentions, court cases, fighting these, I would say, innocent children who, through no fault of theirs,
Mhm.
are now part of the family. So what happens? When an adoptive parent dies? What happens to those children, please?
I mean, in my short life, I've witnessed when people die and then things go haywire.
Yeah,
So you really can't control how people behave
yeah,
when you're not there, when you're dead and gone. You can't control how people behave. And you can get people to give you the assurance, or even write it in blood and tell you that when you die, or if you die, this and that is going to happen. But there's no guarantee of that.
okay,
So the best thing to do is to just make sure that you cover all bases.
okay,
And during the adoption process as well, they do ask these questions about when you die, what happens to the child. And one of those things are, you have to nominate a parent, somebody who take sole responsibility for the child. So you need to nominate somebody in the family. And behind the scenes of that, you have to make sure that you have the discussion, the conversation with the person,
Wow.
and kind of let them step into your shoes. And you need to leave your, what I will call, a legacy of your intentions for that child with that person. But then again, you can have all that assurance, but things can go anyhow, because you're not there to control it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there is a process for that to be covered
Wow.
as well.
Wow. I mean, if anyone is watching us and you want to go down the adoption route or maybe the fostering route, Miss Gunu is on live educating us on the pros and cons of fostering and adoption. So please be educated and also be informed. As we go on, what are some of the key factors to consider, before adopting?
Uh, I think the first thing is ask yourself, will you remain committed from day one to whenever? And that could be to the time you die or for the rest of that child's life. You need to ask yourself that, because commitment is a big deal
Hmm.
for you, your own extended family, for that child and the child's family. Because when it comes to a baby, it's just like, sometimes I see young children having baby. I was a young mother myself, so I'm included in that scenario. The baby cute factor is nice, when you have the baby and everybody is overly joyous over the baby, and then the baby becomes a toddler, and
The
you need
kids
to
grow.
yeah, you need to think about all of that. The children will come with issues. They will come with issues that could be with health, because one of the disadvantages of adoption that I find is I can't really link, psych myself with ancestral hereditary diseases or whatever. Because when my children present something, I'll be saying, oh, your granddad, or,
Yeah.
from either side. But I can't do that with the adopted child because I don't have those informations. So you need to be open with yourself and
Mm.
be open to whatever comes and hits you, and be committed to that child. Um, the children will come with all kinds of things. You have to be open to deal with them. You do these things that they say, we cross that bridge when we get there, because every day, every minute, there will be bridges that you come across, and you have to be prepared to cross them for your sake, your family's sake, and for that child's sake.
Wow. Wow. Your your bravery is is way too high. You've got so much belief. I mean, for you to be doing what you're doing, and I think society should commend you
My
for
mother taught me.
ah,
She's
your
braver.
mama has taught you well. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Is one's relationship status important, and when adopting a child?
Actually, I don't think so, because I adopted as a single person.
Oh,
Yeah, I adopted as a single mom, and then I got married. So, and then when I was going through the process, I met a few adoptive couples that came with different kinds of relationship status. So I don't think it matters. But I think if anybody's listening, they should check with their own local adoption agencies. But I doubt very much that relationship. I think when it comes to adoption, your intention
hmm.
and how capable you are, how committed, and all these things are what is looked at,
Okay.
but not necessarily. If you're single and it sounds as if you're going to need an awful lot of support through the assessment, then maybe that will come into question. Or maybe there's a couple that maybe their coupleness or their being together might not work for a child,
Mm-hmm.
then those things will come into question. But when it comes to relationship, it's all through the assessment, and I don't think it matters at all.
Oh, okay. And also,
Yeah.
age brackets. I mean, at what age can someone adoption? Also, how long does the adoption process also takes?
I think you have to be over 21
Okay.
to be considered for adoption. I'm not sure how much the ceiling goes up to, because obviously, depending on whom you're adopting, you have to be able to be relevant in their life and see them through life, through all kinds of milestones. So again, it will be based on assessment, but I think that the you must be over 21, or if in doubt, check on .gov. There's a whole lot of information there about how the process works, what is required, and all of that. The process can vary from agency to agency.
Okay.
It also all depends on the circumstances. I was functioning as a foster carer, and the baby came to me as a foster child. So my process was very different and quicker than most people, because a lot of the questions that would be asked, I'd already gone through it during my fostering from F assessment.
Oh, okay. And
Yeah, so
mhm.
uh,
Even though you had your own children, now, um, what did you actually need any special experience in trying to adopt someone's child? Is there kind of any form of experience that one actually needs before they can
uh,
adopt?
you don't need the experience, but you must be willing to be open to what it needs to raise a child,
Hmm.
and especially somebody else's child. Because even during my own process, when I speak to friends, somebody says, "Yeah, but I prefer to have my own." So somebody with a mindset like that, you might not be suitable to raise a child that is not from yourself, because already you've built a barrier,
Yeah.
you know. So, and also when you're doing the adoption process, there are trainings. if
Okay.
if when the adoptive social workers are talking to you, they'll identify trainings. There are compulsory ones which you have to attend, where they give you all the like legalities and the usual practical issues that comes with adoption. They give you all the scenarios, and give you some worst case scenarios, just to prepare you
Hmm.
for things that you can look. But there isn't any kind of prerequisite experience, but
Okay.
the fact that you're willing and you want to give a child a good home.
Wow. Wow. So, I'm so emotional now. I don't know for what you've been able to do when you're still, doing. Pardon me if I'm not. I would say flow as some, I should, but just looking at you, you are just full of love. You know, I don't know. With such a big heart, wanting to give a second chance to a child, and I would say that God bless you so 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 much for what
Thank
you've
you.
done, and I hope God will grant like all of us that kind of heart and also patience to be able to look beyond our own biological children and also look beyond the societal cage around us, and then see if we can adopt or even foster a child out there. Now let's talk about, the pertinent issues and the reasons why I think a lot of people are shying away from this adoption and also fostering. How do, because I know we've got kids from different backgrounds, and I was so glad when you said that when kids miss their identity and they grow up, it really affects them. So now, how do differing cultural backgrounds impact adoption and fostering?
You know, the racial situation can be a big thing.
Hmm.
I don't think there's any kind of straightforward solution to that, because historically you've had um, European adopting black children, and things like that. Some work very well. I had a colleague who both him and his wife are English, and they went to adopt a child from China, and it worked perfectly because that child is a child that they had, and they gave the child, everything, they met all their basic needs to start with, then built on that. And some of the things they did as well was going back to China, go back and forth to China to make sure that the child, taps into their heritage, their culture, so that they will retain that Chinese identity, and they make sure that that remains.
Wow.
But then when it comes to practicalities, sometimes culturally you can only impact what you have lived
Yeah. Yeah.
and what you have known. So I guess that is where the difficulty comes from, when people are not able to instill the cultural um,
Is it values?
values. Yeah, the cultural values that you can't learn, but you can only live it.
Yeah.
You have to see it modeled by your parents or your elders to be able to instill. So it's a difficult situation, but it does work. But then when it comes to the assessment, again, you have the specialists, social workers, who would dissect all of that to make sure that this person is going to be matched, this person or this couple are going to be matched with this child, even though they have differences. They believe and they accept that it will work.
Wow.
But a lot goes back to the adoptive parents' commitment to that child, and trying to celebrate and make the child's background relevant in their life.
Wow. Sister, Yaira, can I just quote what the UN Convention say? Then I will just ask a question based on that. Article 20 of the United Conventions on the Rights of the Child states that children who cannot be looked after by their own family have a right to special care and must be looked after properly by people who respect their ethnic group, religion, culture, and language. What are some of the difficulties associated with transracial adoption? What are some of the difficulties?
Yeah, it all goes back to understanding the person's race, and ensuring that every need as far as the race is concerned is met. And like I said previously, some of these things you can only impact when you've lived it yourself. But they can be, for the lack of better words, they can be bought in.
Okay.
So is the parent's willingness to pursue those things for the child,
Mhm.
that would, and a lot of these things comes clear, they come through during the assessment, if you're willing. I'll just give example of our household. We're a black household, we're from Ghana, Africans, but I fostered Caucasian children.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I have a long-term Caucasian child with me, you know so it's your willingness and commitment to celebrate and to interact with those cultural and racial aspects of the child, on top of, like you rightly said, the United Nations Convention of the Rights of the Child. There are basic needs that have to be met. And sometimes the difference between adoption and fostering is that when it comes to taking the child into safety, the basic need is all the social worker is looking at when they want to place a child. Because like today, as we are here, they need a child to be safe. So they can bring a child, I don't know, maybe an Asian child or even a Muslim child when I'm a Christian household. They will know my mindset, or even if they don't, maybe for tonight, the child needs to go into safety. So they will look at the basic needs that I can provide. And then you build on all of that. And it's all a working process. It's a working process where you work with other agencies, you work with a child social worker, whoever is relevant, the school, to make sure that those things are celebrated. So, I mean, just to answer your question, it's not an easy ride when it's interracial or interfaith,
Interfaith.
because there will be things that I don't know that I can't impact, and that could be uh, damaging the parts of the child's identity. So it has to be looked at carefully. But then sometimes safety is number one. So we look at safety in fostering. But with adoption, because it's a long-term plan, they have to make sure that they fine-tune those things to make it work for the child and the parents.
Wow. We live in an environment where everything is controlled and also everything is regulated. Can we just turn the page, a bit over, where, let's say, in Ghana, in Nigeria, in wherever, where the systems are not as properly structured and also properly followed as here? What can be done? Because this platform is making impact across the world. So I don't want us to sit here and pretend that it's easy. In Ghana, it's easy in Nigeria, it's easy in Malawi, it's easy in South Africa. What can we do, to make sure that such systems are, readily available for children, that are wanting to be adopted? What can be done in our institutions back home?
Oh, in our institution back home, now that's a tall order,
Yeah.
because I don't want to be political, but
Oh,
it
oh,
boils
please.
down to the politicians and how things are regulated.
Yeah.
If only we will be regulated back home like we are here, I think things will work out much better for the children that are being adopted back home. Because even though I have adopted my son, any checks that every child have to, no, not checks, any rights that every child have, he has the same
Wow.
as far as parents are concerned. So most of the ways that children's well-being are kind of checked and monitored is through school.
Okay.
So when he goes to school and come back, teachers see what comes and goes.
Yeah.
And if there are any concerns, they will call the authority. So even though the child is adopted by me and I have parental responsibility, and there is no independent reviewing officers, no social workers, nobody to come into the house to check that I am looking after him properly, there are those things that are still being done by other, there will be health visitors, there will be GPs, there will be, I think at the moment churches, have signed up to all of that. But back home, nobody really cares. And if only we can have the regulatory bodies
Mm-hmm.
to do their job. For me, I think that's the only way. That would be the starting point,
Okay.
to have a body that cares about children and
Mm.
actually goes out of their way to make sure that their care needs are provided by the people who says they've opened their arms to them.
Okay.
And I understand what you're saying. Somebody will adopt a child and maltreat that child very badly
Yeah.
because there's nobody to check it.
Mm.
There's nobody to talk for that child. Children's voices are not being heard from, back where we come from. So I believe strongly that if there is a body that will take it upon themselves to make sure that children's welfare, basic welfare needs are met, children will have a better chance at adoption and fostering back where we come from, just like their counterparts in the Western world.
Wow. Okay, let me just put you on the spot. If you're given opportunity to be a strong advocate for that, what would you do? Would you, take this mantle and make sure things are properly done? Just to make sure kids who are adopted or kids who are fostered, can be given equal opportunities as biological children. Because what I've realized is, back home when we adopt other people's children, they become like slaves, quote unquote.
Yeah.
I'm saying, and not everyone, but most of the times. So we, like we have children not even wanting to be taken by other parents, for fear
Yeah.
of being,
Yeah.
maltreated. So
Yeah.
if you are given this opportunity to educate us on the processes, the channels, and the proper channels, to make sure that the kids are properly safeguarded. What will you do? Will you take up this mantle?
Oh, safeguard children. I mean, I'll be your woman. But I know where we come from.
Yeah.
If I have all the resources, hell yeah.
Wow.
It's a song I sing every time. My parents knows this. They will tell you. I wish I'll take every person looking after somebody else's child to my mother
Wow.
for her to just walk them through, because she has raised people's children, some who have turned their backs against her. And we, her children, we would strive and wail and, but it's like, I've done it. What do you want me to do? Take them back to childhood and take the training out of them or something like that? But yeah, with the right resources, I think we can do it. And the mindset, the right resources and the right mindset changing apparatus. Let me use that word.
Yeah.
I think it can be done. Yeah. And I, for one, I would love to see that change. So I can't stand back and say I won't help or I won't give my expertise or whatever. I don't know if I'm an expert, but
At least,
whatever
at
it
least
is, let's get our hands dirty. Why not?
yes, at least you fostered,
Yeah.
kids from different racial backgrounds, and
Yeah.
so to me, I think you qualify to be an ambassador,
Yeah.
or a champion in this area. Can an adopted child be returned? Under what circumstances can a child who is adopted be returned?
Right. I don't know any such thing as return to sender because there's no sender to return. There isn't anybody to return the child to, because once the adoption order is made, the biological parents have relinquished their rights
Mhm.
to that child in terms of having the parental responsibility, because the adopted parents then become the responsible parent for that child and have the autonomy and make all the decision and everything. But should the relationship break down, that child will now go back into local authority care.
Okay.
And it's sad to think that it does happen,
Wow.
where the relationship break down and then all the adoptive parent think, actually, this is not what I bargained for. I don't think I can do it. They take that child back into care, and probably depending on the child's age and everything, the process might start all over again. Or they stay within the care system. So yeah, it does happen for children to go back into local authority care.
Having been educated tonight that fostering is totally different from adoption. So you have children, okay, should I say, being moved, around. What kind of psychological impact does it have on these children? Because every home is different. When they, from your home, maybe they come to my home, they go to maybe another home. What kind of psychological effect or impact does it have on these children?
It tells the child that they are not wanted. It makes them feel dejected, rejected, unloved, and think that everything that happens is because of them, is their fault that these things are happening. Yeah. Um, some of the children, they then decide that if I come to your home after I've been to this one's home, I don't want you to be the one to make the call that you don't want me.
Oh,
So I'll make it happen for both of us. Save us all out of this misery. So then you see them getting into this kind of self-sabotaging behaviors. It's not because they are horrible children or they are troublemakers or anything. It's just because they don't want to wait for it to happen, or they're thinking, when is it going to happen? Let me make it quick. And some of them become used to the move. So I don't know. Some might enjoy it and think that, oh, okay, let me spend 2 weeks here, 3 weeks here, and then I'll move to the next. And if it's not happening, let me make it happen quick. So that is kind of the some of the psychological effects it have on them, that we are not wanted, so we have to keep moving. We can't stay here too long and be comfortable before they pull the rug from under our feet. It's sad.
That's very sad.
Yeah.
That's very sad. And I think one important challenge that's really also, um, I'll say, bothering people is the accusation of institutional racism. That takes, that's the, there's a notion that Black and Asian, kids, it takes a longer time for them to be fostered or adopted. How have things changed?
Um, I suppose the change is because more and more people are coming forward, more and more BME people are coming forward to adopt, one of whom I am, because it's kind of like you said earlier on in the program, it's kind of unheard of us to step forward and say we are going to adopt, and even be publicly and openly about it. But now people are being educated and more informed that it's not shameful, it's not taboo. And children are adorable, and children, even if they come with challenges, with a lot of love and affection and consistency and stability, they will calm down, and take the chances that you're giving them. So I suppose that there is more BME people coming forward now to adopt, and then perceptions are changing within the communities. I want to believe. As far as institutional racism is concerned, I think I haven't experienced it myself. So I don't think I can shed more light on that. But if ever you find that it's happening, it's good to speak up about it, and not shy away, because you speaking up about it will help somebody else not to go through that. And sometimes it might not even be racism, it's because these whoever it is that you're dealing with might not understand you, as whatever race you are. They don't understand things, so they will just last week there was an incident that I became aware of, where English became a problem and people were just throwing words, and somebody was getting offended because this person that was saying these things didn't really understand the connotation behind those English words that they're saying. So sometimes you can pull people up and say, I just want to clarify that this and this and that has happened. This is how it affected me, and have the conversation. As far as the process is concerned, I think it very much depends on agency to agency, and then adoptive social worker, the person doing the assessment. It depends on a whole lot of factors. Sometimes too, I find that we are culturally, we are not patient. We don't do the research before we go into the thing. So we think that it should be snappy, because when they are doing references and checks, it can take time. It can take time for people to come forward to give references. It can take time for checks to happen. And some checks, they had to go back to Ghana to do some checks on me. They have to speak to my siblings from across the world. And then these workers have their time off that they have to take from where they have other workload. So as much as we should be committed to, we can ask questions that what is going on, what is the delay, and ask the people to be open with us as far as the process is concerned. But I do find again that sometimes we are not patient, so we tend to, and a lot of it as well is speculation, when people say, oh, they take ages, because it can take anything up to 18 months depending on what happens at every stage of the process.
Wow.
So it varies. And I don't think that is anything to do with whether you're black or white. And sometimes you might find the assessment to be very intrusive because they will ask questions that you'll be thinking, oh, you can't ask me that. But yes, they can.
Wow.
You know, yeah. And then people will say, I need a break. Because I remember during my process, they keep saying, if you think we should pause, we will. We should. Because it's really important that you reevaluate what you're doing. So patience is key. It will happen when all things are good, but you should be patient as well.
I mean, having said that, the process can be a bit intrusive. Don't you
Yeah.
think? I mean, it's one of the reasons why it pushes a lot of people away because sometimes they might have to go into your background, things that maybe your parents might not necessarily want to be out there. You just want to now, just put it to the whole world that this is what maybe my parents have done or maybe their background. Don't you think sometimes it's too intrusive or maybe, I don't know.
It can be intrusive, but if you think about it, you're having a child that it's not, you didn't carry the pregnancy.
Yeah.
If you're not careful, you can get carried away about that fact
Okay.
and think that, oh, even you're not my own. You know, sometimes
Yeah.
if you're not careful, all those things. So this process allows you to go through all that motion before they happen, you
Okay.
know. So they have to build a picture about you, what makes you up. And our background builds us. They say whatever doesn't kill me makes me stronger.
So, yeah.
So it's about knowing what refined you. And also it helps with matching a child to you,
To you.
you know, because if those things don't come out to light, you might have a child and then not being able to cope
Yeah.
with all that. Yeah, so these things come up, and then if a training need is identified as they are coming out,
Mm.
and also it's a very confidential process.
That's okay.
So not everybody is going to be looking at your file. They ask the questions so that a process can be, you know, completed.
Completed.
And knowing that yes, she can do it, or she can't, or they can, or they can't. Because when it comes to a couple, they have to look at how you relate with each other. Yes,
Okay.
because you know, as parents ourselves, children play us against each other.
Yeah.
So those things have to be brought up to the surface, and the conversation has to be had, because it's not a walk in the park. I mean, I might I might have spoken and people would think that it's a walk in the, it's not. But it's just because we reflect a lot on every situation, everything that happened. We are always talking, myself and the girls and my husband. When things happen, we talk about it, and we talk about how can we, sometimes we don't have the answer, but then we'll see, let's see how it pans out. So if they don't have this conversation with us when they're doing the assessment, things can build up and create a whole lot of situations that could have been dealt with from the very beginning. So it's really important.
Interesting. I've just got
Yes.
Usu roundup, but is there any situation whereby maybe let's say a woman wants a child to adopt, but let's say the husband is not in favor of it, but then the woman is still bent on having a child in the home. At what point can they override the husband's, not consenting to have maybe a child in in the house? At what point can the law maybe override the husband's, decision not to go ahead with what maybe the wife or maybe what the partner has actually maybe gone ahead or maybe or started? Like at what point can maybe one partner decision become irrelevant when it comes to adoption? I'm asking that because you had yours when you were not married, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then your husband came in and accepted this. So, supposing if your husband was not in favor of your son, what would have been the picture? What, like what would have been the outcome?
I'm glad he's listening in the other room because um, the first point that you raised about at what point would he be overreading? I don't know the question because that's a professional, it's for the professionals. But in practice, I wouldn't advise that
Okay.
that one couple should be overreading, because if you think about it, that child comes into a divided home.
Okay.
You can both have a biological child. When one doesn't want the child and the other one wants it, a pregnancy happens. That is natural. And those can create problems.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the case where we're trying to bring a situation together, and one party, it's, I would call that an already broken home, because that child is coming to a divided front. It's not, the child is not coming into a united front. It will not be advisable. So if I was a professional
Mm-hmm.
who is dealing with those couples, I would pull back and ask them to have the conversation before we carry on again, because it will not be, in my personal opinion, it will not be a good situation to bring a child into.
Okay, because I'm asking this question for couples who, through no fault of theirs, cannot have their own biological, child or children. So, sometimes maybe the man or maybe the woman might want to have a child in the house. So, I'm also, speaking on their behalf that if it comes to that point where maybe one party is so bent on having, a child in the house through adoption or through fostering, and like at that point what can be done to help the situation. That's why I asked this question, because we have to cover every scenario where you know where the need actually arises. So I'm thinking, okay, let me just ask this question just in case a
I
couple.
might get a social media backlash for saying this, but if I found myself in that situation, and I feel I will be fulfilled as a human being if I adopt a child and my spouse is dead against it, then I'll be asking myself some serious questions, and we'll be making some tough decisions to meet my need in that situation. But again, it's never a good idea to bring a child into a situation that is not united. I won't do it. And if I was in a professional role, trying to assess a couple and see that, no, we will have, I think, I'm sure people have come across this several times, and the conversation will be had. And I'm sure they will always come to a favorable conclusion in the situation. But it's good if they are both open and bring it to the forefront so that the conversation will have to be had.
Mm-hmm.
Because if not, if everybody kind of kept it and say, well, let's just go through the motion, it won't be a good situation. It won't be good for them as a parent. It won't be good for the child. So it's good. And if there's anyone listening right now and they see that that is a situation, they could go for counseling. They could go for counseling or speak to the social worker who is carrying out the assessment, because these people are trained, they're specialists, and they have to be sure that when they take the couple or the adoptive parent to panel,
Mm-hmm.
that is, they won't take you to panel if they don't think it won't work. That's the thing. But it's good to have the conversation, seek some support, some counseling, speak to other people, get their opinion, because sometimes you might be stuck on a belief
Mm-hmm.
for yourself. But by talking through to other people, they might open your mind to see things that you're not seeing,
Okay.
which is why they go right back to what makes you as a person and then tease out all these, pick out all these beliefs, values that we have hidden in our chest, that makes us do things that, sometimes you think, oh, why did they do that, and all of that. And then to come to the second point, I hope, can I move on to the
Sure,
second
sure,
one
sure, sure.
about I adopted as a single parent, then I got married.
Yeah,
Well, when they say, if they say people have a checklist for when they are choosing their life spouses or partner, that was my checklist. That anybody that comes into my life, my home, I have three children. Two I had naturally, and one is adopted. But they're all my children. And we all come as a four, a quad. And you have to take us or leave us. And so that was my number one checklist, and the only checklist I had. That, and if ever he gave me any sense of, oh, you shouldn't have adopted, or any kind of negativity towards the adoption, it was going to be no. Because where I am in life right now, you want sanity, don't you?
of course.
You don't want to go and, I mean, forgive me if I say it as if men are trouble, but you don't want to bring a man into your life and your children's life knowing very well that this person have reservations about who you are, because adopted parent is who I am,
Yeah,
and I'm a parent to an adopted child. So if you're going to come and have problem with that, then
wow.
again, we'll have to have the conversation, and we might say, let's pause for a bit.
Yeah, I really admire your courage, and I'm so particular about this area because we have society, the church, the community, the work environment, casting aspersions on couples. Who literally have done everything that they've done, IVFs and whatever, but they still can't have children. And sometimes it's like they are torn in between whether maybe to go for a toddler or the baby, or maybe it's they get so disturbed because they don't want to go in for a toddler because um they may actually get that backlash that we know that you don't have children, so where from this child, or should we go for a baby? So, what do you say? Because there's a lot that we should, I know we can't change as a society, but can we give these people a little breather, a little bit of, I'll say, a breather, okay. But then it's not easy when you're trying, or you've tried everything to have a baby, and then the only option that is left for you is to adopt. But then society won't let you be. You understand what I mean? What kind of advice, what kind of I don't know, but any resources out there that can help such people who are just crying or screaming, but then nobody is even listening, to their cry or maybe to their desperations. What can you say to that, please?
We need society. You know that what they say, it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
So you can't do it alone. And sorry, I had a phone
No, no,
call.
it's okay.
And no man is an island. So we do need people in our lives.
Yeah.
Um, if you watch social media, listen to social media these days, people are actually choosing to celebrate themselves and do what matters to them rather than what. Sometimes I read these things and I ask myself, are these people just saying these things, or are they really like taking the steps to instill that and make sure that they live it? And as much as we need society, we have to be sane individuals or couples at the same time. So you as a couple, look at who you are and who influences your life. If these influencers are the ones making the trouble that do not adopt, then you sit them down and you must try and educate, because nothing comes to life easily. So I can't say to people that, oh, it doesn't matter what people say. It does
It does.
most of the time.
Yeah.
But then you have to pick and choose. You have to decide, okay, You can draw up a pros and cons list if it would help. Okay, this person, okay, maybe this is my mom or his mom who is dead against this. What can we do? How can we bring her around? If she's one that can never ever come around, or this, then you need to think about what happens if we go against her wish. Draw that up.
Okay.
Would it be the end of life? No. So you have to take a step back away from all the talkers and do what is good for you as a couple or as an individual. And I've known people to relocate because it matters to them that they have this baby. And then when it comes to should we have a newborn baby or a toddler, remember that this is not a natural occurrence. Okay, so sometimes you might have to be flexible and compromise when it comes to choosing the child, because the social workers, the professionals, will also help you to kind of navigate you towards a child that they think you are. And if it's going to be a toddler, you might have to go to some parenting class because you've never had one yourself, so they could identify this that you go to. I think the popular one in Coventry is Triple P, that I know of. So you go to some parenting courses in order to identify some of the triggers of raising a toddler, some of the issues that come, some of the things you have to do, how to instill boundaries, how to do this. So there's a whole lot of resources in the UK, and I believe there will be in other Western countries. But when it comes to our third world countries,
Yeah.
it can be difficult. But again, it takes a village to raise a child. So you will always find people within this community to talk to
Mm-hmm.
about issues that. So talk. I mean, don't go throwing all your washing your dirty linen in public.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can go with specific situations that, oh, we went to shopping the other day and she threw herself on the floor. I didn't know what to do. And some parents will tell you that I did this and it worked, and that and that. So when it comes to all of that, it's good to be open and say, talk about your anxiety
Yeah.
that you have, and it will help the assessors and the professionals to kind of fine tune um, your expectations and all of that.
Wow. Well, viewers out there, we we are almost at the end of our discussion. We would like to bring Lucy back. Lucy, I mean, it's amazing to share your story on this platform. I really admire your bravery and also to come here to just appreciate your parents. And you are so proud to say that these are your parents, in spite of the fact that your biological parents are still alive. You are not shy to say that these are the parents that raised me. So, what is your final, um, you know, message to the world? What do you want to say?
Yep. Well, I guess I can say that, adoption as a topic on its own, it's not a bad thing. It's not a negative thing. To couples out there, women out there who seeks to be mothers and parents, it is a very good option. Um, Sometimes we view it as, a negative thing, or it's like a last bad thing, but no, it's just another process to guarantee you a family, to guarantee another child a wonderful loving home. And like I am grateful to my parents, they will be grateful to you as well. So we should continue to talk about it. We should continue to make awareness about it, and because there's a lot of children out there who needs the love, who needs the home, and that's something that we should be talking about more and encouraging a lot more couples and women to do. So adoption is not a negative thing. It did wonders for me. That's why I'm able to sit here and talk to you about it. So yes, my daughter agrees. So let's keep that option open. and it's been a really interesting topic, and I've been very impressed with our hostess here and all the wonderful job she's doing and all the information that she's putting out, and it's really really good thing. So God bless you for being a foster mom and for adopting and being a good example for all of us to follow. And I thank you for this platform and being able to communicate this to the world. And you're doing a great thing, so keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Miss Kanu, your final words to the world, to families out there. Um, I mean, for I just want you to speak for children who are just crying out loud, wanting a place to be loved, to be accepted, to make them feel they're normal human beings. Because you said that as they keep on, being moved from one point to the other, they feel as if they're not human beings enough for them to be tossed around like that. I want you tonight to speak for such children and how willing they are to be given the opportunity to be loved, and also to African and Asian homes, and even our Caucasian homes. I I just want you to talk to us. I mean, from the experience and also from what you've done. I want you to use that experience to address address the whole world here tonight, please.
Gosh, how long have I got? 10,000 years. Um,
I mean,
um,
the floor is yours.
you see, we as a household are actually a testimony to that. A young man came to us about nearly 10 years ago now, and in a space of 2 months, he'd been to, I think, 4 homes. And by the time he came to us, we could have easily, I almost nearly raised my hand and said, no, not this one, no thank you. But we persevered. And today, all those behaviors that we saw for 3 years straight, I mean, like English person would say, touch wood. They don't. And when I was in the thick of it, I asked for help. I always raise my hand and I say, I can't do this. I need help. Because if anything goes wrong, I would be answerable. So I would always say, please help me. This is not going well. So I always accept help. So that's one thing. Accept help. Call for help when you need it and accept it. There is nothing like a failure, especially when you've got somebody else's child that you're looking after and things aren't going well. Don't think that you want to be superwoman or Wonder Woman or an angel. If it's not going well, say it and talk about how you can make it, tolerable for all that is concerned. So this young man, now we celebrate milestones. When he does things, we shout from on top of, the roof and things like that. And we always look back and say, what if we had said we can't cope? And I'm talking about myself and my daughters.
Yeah.
What if we have said we couldn't because we couldn't at the time? And we could have said, because we took every day as it comes on daily basis. And every day I'm thinking, today is the day I'm going to give notice. Today is the day. And then somebody said to me that if you manage to get some boundaries in place, when he becomes a teenager and in his puberty, those boundaries will be your leverage. And I thought, no chance. With this behavior, there's not going to be any leverage. But here I am. So with perseverance, sometimes, I removed all the ornaments in my living room, in my house. There was nothing, there was no prettiness because they all got broken and damaged and everything. But we persevered. And now, I live as if I don't have to, in terms of children come here and it's no child free zone anymore. Things can be, left around and all of that. So perseverance Oh, there's a saying in the Bible, if I'm allowed to use the Bible. Perseverance produces endurance, I think they say. I'm not sure, so don't quote me on that. But once you persevere, there would always be a reward at the end. Fostering is very rewarding. You might have your house broken 10,000 times, but there will be one huge reward, and it will make you like, oh, I'm glad I did it. Think about running 10,000 marathons on daily basis. Every marathon comes with its challenges. When you do the marathon, you tell yourself, and I've done it before, why did I get into this? But when it was done, I was like, when is the next one? Because I reached the finish line and I celebrated the milestone. So it's very rewarding because you're providing a good home for these children. It's home for good for them as they need it. And if you have any kind of parenting capacity in you, don't let it go to waste. I will say, if you have the opportunity to raise somebody else's child, believe you me, there's rewards in it. You might not see it, but they do come. And it's very rewarding because celebrating a child's milestone is the best feeling that anyone can have. And don't ask for any reward back. They come to you. The rewards will come. I don't know if I've covered.
Yes, yes, yes. It's covered so. I mean, yeah, we
Yeah.
could have actually. On that note, I would like to say a very big thank you. You know, before we go, you know, I've got a lot of comments sent, and I just can't end without not reading these powerful comments that I've sent. I've got Hajia Alima Sajitu. She goes, "Good evening, and thank God for another opportunity to learn again." Thank you so much, Hajia. She's in Ghana, and then she's constantly, supporting me and the cause that the Inside View is doing. And I've got Edith Morrison saying awesome. And I've got Naomi Asani. Thank you so much, sis. It says very great topic. And I've got Arthur Jane all the way from Canada, also saying wonderful discussion. And I've got Huguet Nana Ajwa Boateng says, oh, what a lovely story. And I've got Ajwa again saying, you go beautiful. You are really doing a great job and giving us insight. I might foster one day. Ajwa, go ahead. And I've got Ajwa again says, thanks, Auntie Yara and Lucinda. And I've got Naomi again, God bless you, Madam Yaira. It takes a person with a good heart to adopt. And I've got Haji again says, this experience shared is so good and I can relate to some of the concerns shared. And Hajia also continue to say that you should be a God-fearing person to raise a child of another. Oh, that's a good compliment for you, Sister Yaira, because
Thank
but it is
you.
worth doing it while it's capable. Yeah, yeah. And I've got Kelly Grant. Yaira has the biggest heart. And I've got Sahil Abraham Ahmed. He's also a GP in Bradford. He also says, great work, very important topic. Thank you, keep up the good work. And I've got Mansford, Pastor Mansford Asante Senior, says, great conversation. Thank you. The comments are many. I can't read everything. So, you know, we might have to stop here. And I think I've got Asida in Kenyami Wilbeck also just giving us a thumbs up. And I think I've got, there was another lady that kept on sharing. So Sister Margaret, thank you so much for
Thank
sharing,
you.
for sharing, for sharing. Thank you so much. On that note, thank you so much. You know, tonight we've all learned something about adoption. And my only word that I want to share with you tonight is for our parents. When your children have tried everything and it's still not happening, and they want to communicate to you or with you about adoption or fostering, tonight I'm begging you, listen to them. Listen to them. Your children might have a big heart to look after another child or give a home to that child. So when they, when that points come and they talk about adoption or fostering, please don't push these children away. Our mother-in-laws, our father-in-laws, please don't push them away, but listen to them. Lucinda said that through her, her mother was able to have her own biological child. So who knows? Miss Gunu, has also told us that there's a lot of blessings, that comes with fostering or adopting someone's child. And trust me, who knows? So to our African families and also to our Asian families and also to our white families, I know you are so upfront with, talking about, okay, this is my adopted child or, fostered, you don't shy away from it. But our community, we find it a bit out of place to talk about this. So let me address, my community tonight. When that time comes, let us have a little bit of sympathy for our children, crying to adopt other people's children. And also let's give these children out there a second chance to be loved. So thank you so much. I wanted to.
Can I just butt in quickly? There is a film on Netflix. I'm trying to find the title, but I can't. But I'll find it and then maybe we'll put it in the comments or something. They are true stories that happen. It's about two people that did IVF. And it sets out some of the issues that people have. So I think it would also be a good example of how things can be, especially when it comes to the education of the extended family and all of that. I'll find the title and let you know. I only watched it about 2 weeks ago. I can't remember the title. So and they are true stories actually.
Amazing.
So and it happened in Nigeria.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow. Wow.
uh, I'll find it and
It's
let you have it so you can post.
interesting. And do you know what? Tonight we've learned that you don't have to be rich to be able to
Yeah.
adopt.
No.
We can all, do something. So if you have a place in your heart to do it, why not go for it? So thank you so much. There's one lady that keeps sharing and also commenting, and I just can't end without not talking about her. I've got Sunshine Heba Namidoba. She goes, God bless you, sweet ladies. We are really blessed tonight. God bless you for sharing such insightful experience. Thank you so much, Amma. Thank you so much. On that note, thank you so much and thanks for your company. And continue to
Thank
enjoy
you.
this amazing, lovely weather that for once we are enjoying in Britain. So thank you. And Lucy, goodbye from America. I'll say, regards to the family. Thank you so much. As I say, Yara, thank you. Thank
Thank
you, everyone.
you.